What's good, everybody? It's your brother Mad Black, the most dangerous and the most toxic black man on the internet. The brother who told you not to be out here committing crimes when you know that you're not a citizen of the United States, but you did it anyway, and now your ass finds that you can't come back into the United States. And I am black up in your face again with some more pro-black commentary. Very interesting story coming out of New Hampshire of a white male who was one of these MAGA mutants. You know, he was a very, very big supporter of Donald Trump. But turns out he is not from America. He's actually from Canada. So, even though he never voted for the president of the United States, he was still a big MAGA supporter and believed in the whole Make America Great Again. Which is funny coming from someone who's not from here. It's like, how do you know what makes America great if you and your family are not from America? That's very interesting. But, asking these people to actually think out what they're saying is asking a lot of people who have mayonnaise for brains. So this fool, he was traveling to Canada to visit his real family over there, and he brought his daughters with him. And, when he tried to come back into the United States, they stopped him there at the border and said, "Hey, where you going? What you doing?" He said, I'm going back to America. They said, "No, you're not, because we have found that you have some drug charges on your record." That's right. They said that, you can't come back to the United States if you are somebody who is a criminal and someone who has drug charges and driving around with a suspended license. But he claims that was all a long time ago, right? That was back in the past. It's very funny, these people, when they want to bring up criminality and, who has what charges, they always leave themselves out of it. But then when you look through their background, you find that they have some things going on their criminal history and their criminal record. So he tried to get back in, but they won't let him back in, and they told him that, that green card of yours means nothing. You're getting a privilege here, and that privilege can be revoked if you are somebody that is committing crimes. And I guess he thought when Trump was going to send back all the people committing crimes, it was only going to be the brown people. People that didn't look like him. He thought the white guys who wore the baseball caps or the Bitcoin caps, he was safe, right? Turns out he was not. And he effed around and found out the hard way that everybody who is an immigrant who has anything suspicious on their record is getting swept up in this MAGA maelstrom that Trump has unleashed across the country. So let's listen to a little bit of the news report here, because you're going to hear how sad he sounds. Of course, he sounds sad now, but, when it was time to vote for Trump, he was all cheering and loud and everything else, but now he sounds all sad and somber that he can't come back to the United States. Let's listen to this news story here.
I'm a legal resident green card holder. I have been since 1981.
Chris Landry has lived in New Hampshire since he was 3 years old. He has a partner, 5 children, and a job in manufacturing. He was stopped at the border in Holton, Maine on Sunday while returning from a family vacation to Canada.
They pulled me aside and started questioning me about my past convictions in New Hampshire.
3 hours later, the 46-year-old was told he couldn't come home despite having a green card and being a legal U.S. resident. He spoke to us from New Brunswick, Canada.
They denied me re-entry and said, don't come back or we will detain you.
Well, at least you got that luxury, Mr. Landry. A lot of other people are in the detention centers right now. So at least they gave you the option to just, let you stay over there in Canada, right? Your home country. They let you stay over there. You got family over there, so I don't see what the problem is. Why don't you just move your kids and your wife over to Canada with you? If it's, since you like traveling back and forth anyway, it shouldn't be that big of a deal. But, you shouldn't have been committing crimes here. Now you can't come across the border. So let's listen to some more of his little sob story here of Mr. Landry and his denied re-entry into good old USA.
Way for me to get back in was to see an immigration judge.
In 2004 and 2007, Landry faced charges of marijuana possession and driving with a suspended license, but says he's had no criminal record since. He was given.
Well, hold on now. I don't like stuff when they do stuff like that. It's like white guys love to say like, "Well, I haven't committed a crime since then," but you committed a crime though. So it's on the record. It doesn't just mysteriously go away. Obviously, right? The fact that they're still bringing it up now, but if you committed a crime and you were an adult, it wasn't like you were a child back then. You were an adult. You committed a crime, so you got to face the consequences. You got to take personal responsibility. You can't live in victimhood because you got caught at the border with some crimes on your record. Let's listen some more.
A suspended sentence and paid his fines.
So I never thought that would threaten my status as a resident of the United States.
U.S. Customs and Border Protection telling us in a statement, possessing a green card is a privilege, not a right, and under our nation's laws, our government has the authority to revoke a green card if our laws are broken and...
That's right. He said that. He said if that green card is a privilege, it's not a right. You don't have a right to stay here, and if you're going to be out here breaking the laws, that green card can be revoked. You hear that? So for all you mayonnaise mutants who voted for Trump or who supported Trump, I know you couldn't vote, or at least you're not supposed to be voting. I'm sure some of you did anyway. But, for all you mayonnaise mutants out there who supported him and who are not from here, doesn't matter if you're from a European nation. I talked about that other guy that's from Denmark. Now you got one from Canada. He's going to send your ass packing. Let's listen some more.
Used. Lawful permanent residents presenting at a U.S. port of entry with previous criminal convictions may be subject to mandatory detention and or may be asked to provide additional documentation to be set up for an immigration hearing.
Just very uncertain for me right now. I might end up spending the rest of my life in Canada, and who knows if I'll ever even have the right to re-enter the United States at this point.
What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that? If you see, I'm trying to figure out like what is the problem here. Canada is a first world nation. It's close to the United States. You have basically a lot of the same things. I don't see what the big deal is. Go stay in Canada. Unless you have a problem staying over there. Maybe they don't like MAGA mutants over there in Canada. You can't, walk around with your MAGA hat and act like a complete buffoon talking about taking the country back or taking over the United States for your Lord and Master Donald Trump. You can't do that from Canada, but so be it. I'd rather you be there because obviously if you support MAGA or you support Donald Trump, you're probably a threat to a real American citizens anyway. So stay over there. Tell your family to pack up and come move over there with you in Canada, and you MAGA mutants just stay in that country. Okay? Let's listen some more here.
Who lives in Peterborough, New Hampshire, was with 3 of his children when he was stopped at the border. The children will make their way home in the days ahead. Landry says he goes to Canada at least once a year and has never had a problem until now. Why do you think this time it's a problem?
Because of the new administration and their new policies.
As a Canadian citizen, he couldn't vote for president, but he did support Donald Trump.
I was definitely all for Make America Great Again and having a strong, unified country and a bright future for my 5 American children.
How do you think voting for Trump was going to make the country more unified? And once again, how are you making the country get great again when you're not from here? You see what I'm saying? I mean, I know what it means, but in their little mayonnaise-sized brain, when they hear "Make America Great Again," they hear "Make America White Again." Everything's going to be white. All people in government are going to be white. The only people who have jobs are going to be white, and the only people in movies are going to be white, apparently. So that's these people's dream and why they supported Donald Trump, right? So, I mean, you guys can let me know how you feel about this in the comments section. And let me say this before I go. Because the last time I did one of these types of videos, some people took offense, or not offense, but they were trying to, spread the whole fear-mongering of you shouldn't be celebrating this because they're going to come for black people next, right? And I'm letting you know that don't do that anymore. There's no point in you trying to spread that type of fear. And I'm wondering, almost like what your objective is if you're doing that, because they're not coming for black people next. Black people have already been come for. The problem that all these other folks are having, people like Mr. Landry and a lot of these other immigrants that are getting their ass kicked right now, is that they're finally starting to be treated the same way black people are. Black males for years have had to deal with this very same thing, where a drug charge on their record has caused them to lose out on jobs, has caused them to lose out on homes, has caused them to lose out on opportunities, has just basically denied them from going certain places. Like they can barely travel even across the United States, and they always wind up locked up. Black people have been going through this, right? So now that Trump has decided to change these laws and put it on his own people, now these people are crying foul. So they're being treated the same way black people have always been treated. That's why I don't feel bad for people like Landry that has to stay in Canada. Oh, so sad, right? You get to stay up there in Canada. I guess it's too cold for him, I guess. I don't know, right? Wear a flannel shirt. That's all I can tell you. Get some lumberjack gear and get some boots. Go make some maple syrup or something, right? So, like I said, don't come here with the fear mongering or trying to make it seem as if they're going to come for black people. They've always come for black people. That's nothing new. Trump is nothing new. All right. Whatever comes down next for black people is just going to be what it is. That's we've always dealt with that. We've dealt with worse, actually. Okay. We've had our citizenship denied. We've had our human rights denied. That's nothing new for black people. Once again, the problem everyone is having now is that they're starting to be treated the same way we've been treated for centuries. All right. And even if you talk about, what they're going to start doing with law enforcement, they've already been doing that. It's nothing new as far as law enforcement harassing us or getting away with murdering us. When has that never been the case? Right? So, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't be prepared for that, but that type of preparation should have already been taken. You don't need me to keep doing videos about it now and letting you know that black people need to be prepared. We need to scare black people. Black people should already know what's coming down the pipe from these demons. All right. We've tried to tell you over the years several times what type of monsters we're dealing with. And it doesn't matter if it's from Trump and his MAGA mutants. It doesn't matter whether it's from Joe Biden, all right, and his little Democratic disciples. It doesn't matter if it's from Obama, the bigot in blackface. It comes in all flavors and colors to black people all the time. It's nothing different. Okay. So let's not do the black fear mongering or they's coming to get us, because they already got us and they're going to keep on getting us until we stand up. I'm almost to the point where when you folks say that, I'm like, well, let it happen. Let all the extreme things or all the things that you fear, I want it to happen, because at the very least, I want to see what a lot of you Negroes are going to do, right? I want to see what you're going to do when they decide to kick down your door and put you in a detention center. I want to see what you're going to do. I know what I'm going to do, but I want to see what you're going to do since you fear it so much, right? So just you guys let me know how you feel about it in the comments section. I'd love to hear your opinions on this story. Anyway, Mad Black, and I will be back with my foot on a devil's back.